Well, hey folks, Jason here from God Conversations. It's been a while since I put up a video. I'm still working through the Bible. I'm in First Kings right now, but on Friday I was finishing up Second Samuel, and it really worked me over hard. I'm still thinking about it. It's a really tough passage, and it's actually pretty deep theology, and God has almost peeled back a layer to show me more of who He is, and it is terrifying. And I just want to jump into it here. And it's 2 Samuel 24, and it's talking about how David did a census. Now, if you know anything from the law, God says you don't do a census. It's sinful. But here, this is what it says in 2 Samuel 24. Again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. I want to stop there. It doesn't say why the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. It just was. Let's read again. Again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he incited David against them, saying, "Go number Israel and Judah." So the king said to Joab, the commander of the army, who was with him, "Go through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and number the people, that I may know the number of the people." But Joab said to the king, "May the Lord your God add to the people 100 times as many as they are, while the eyes of the Lord the king still see it. But why does my lord the king delight in this thing?" See, Joab didn't want David to sin in this way. Verse 4. But the word prevailed against Joab and the commanders of the army. So Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Israel. So they crossed the Jordan and began from Aor, and from the city that is in the middle of the valley toward Gad and down to Jazer. So anyway, he does the census. We're going to jump down to verse 10. But David's heart struck him after he had numbered the people, and David said to the Lord, "I have sinned greatly in what I have done. But now, O Lord, please take away the iniquity of your servant, and I have done very foolishly." And when David arose in the morning, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, "Go and say to David, thus says the Lord, 3 things I offer you. Choose one of them, that I may do it to you." So Gad came to David and told him and said to him, "Shall 3 years of famine come to you in your land? Or will you flee 3 months before your foes while they pursue you? Or shall there be 3 days of pestilence in your land? Now consider and decide what answer I shall return to him who sent me." Then David said to Gad, "I am in great distress. Let us fall into the hand of the Lord, for his mercy is great, but let me not fall into the hand of man." So the Lord sent a pestilence on Israel from the morning until the appointed time, and there died of the people from Dan to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand towards Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented from the calamity and said to the angel who was working destruction among the people, "It is enough. Now stay your hand." And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. Then David spoke to the Lord when he saw the angel who was striking the people, and said, "Behold, I have sinned, I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Please let your hand be against me and against my father's house." So here we have a really hard theological position here, because the book of James 1:3, it says God does not tempt any man to sin. But here it says, again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he incited David. Other translations says that he moved David against them, saying, "Go number Israel and Judah." So if God doesn't tempt anyone to sin, how does God move David or incite him to sin? Let's go to 1 Chronicles 21. And it's the same story, but it starts off a little differently. It says, "Then Satan stood against Israel and incited David to number Israel." So what happened here? God was angry at Israel. How did he move David? How did he incite David? The first thing he did is he removed his hand of grace from David and let a door open for Satan to influence David to sin. And we see this tension between God's sovereignty and human responsibility. But we need to go back to this first part. Again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he incited David against them. God was very mad at Israel. We don't know why, but we don't know specifically why. It doesn't say here. But I want to point something out to you. Every human is sinful. God hates sin. And so God was going to kill these people. And he did it through removing his grace from David by letting Satan influence David to do this. This is a hard thing because in Western Christianity, God is all pixie dust and rainbows, and he's just love, 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 love. Folks, we have angered God greatly, and we deserve exactly what Israel got. And even though God was the one that removed his grace, what is grace? Grace is getting what you don't deserve. God didn't have to give grace to David by not letting him sin. David, just like me, just like you, has a sinful nature. And God just removed his hand. And yet he still held David accountable. And through this, 70,000 people died. Is God love? Yes, he is. But God is also holy, and God is sovereign. And God will kill you. And God is to be greatly feared. And so when salvation is offered by God to you, he's just not waiting there yearning for you to come join him. He's saying, I'm giving you grace. You had better take it. All of us are going to die, and all of us are going to face God. And God's anger is kindled against you and me. And sometimes God uses people to kill us. They are held responsible. Just like David was held responsible. And it is that tightrope between God's sovereignty and human responsibility. Romans 8 says that even though God does not ordain sin, he will work through and around sin to accomplish his purpose for his glory. Folks, God is to be greatly feared. And if you are living a sinful lifestyle, presuming on God's grace and mercy, you are walking on very thin ice. God is so angry at sin that he says in Isaiah that it pleased God to crush him for our iniquities. Who is him? It's Jesus. God needs to punish sin. We don't know the specific sin here that Israel committed, but we know that the sin was great from birth until then. Why? Because people are sinful. Is God love? Yes. But if you are presuming on his grace and mercy, you are on thin ice, like I said. When God extends an olive branch to you, which is the cross, which is Jesus on the cross, where it is God, it pleased God to crush him for our iniquities, it may be your only chance for grace. Have a good day.